Okay, we're recording. So welcome everybody, Julie and Tao. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully we'll have a few others joining us shortly. This is the second webinar in the mentoring theme series. And during this webinar, we're going to be talking about identifying, sourcing, and selecting mentors. So this is our normal housekeeping stuff. I think you guys know the drill here, so I won't go into the details on this. And just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded. So today we have a few additional guests. We'll just have everybody quickly introduce themselves. I'm Jeff Pilasek. I'm the program manager with Miller Center for Growth and Innovation Programs. John, you want to say hello?
Good afternoon. Yes, I am John O'Keefe, and I am a GSBI mentor. I've been involved with the program for just about 6 years, and I've worked with a number of entrepreneurs during that time. Looking forward to chatting with you guys tonight.
And so I'll mention Priya was planning to join us, Priya Tachati, who is the CEO and co-founder of Vilgrow. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency and wasn't able to make the webinar today. So she sends her regrets, and we'll probably send some notes and thoughts about this topic on the Slack channel. Pamela.
Hi, everyone. I think you all know me, Pamela Russos, Chief Innovation Officer at Miller Center. It's great to see you all again.
And Lynn.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lynn Anderson. I am the Director of Mentor Networks at Miller Center. Good to see you again. I think I've been on that one other call with you guys, and it's good to be back.
And Tao.
She says that she doesn't have a microphone, so she's not able to. She'll be able to communicate through chat.
Okay. And same with Julie.
No, Julie can talk to us.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Julie.
Okay.
And we are based in Thailand, and we're gonna launch the Impact Incubation program, actually starting this weekend. And I'm responsible for mentor part.
Excellent. All right, thank you, Julie. Okay, so first, this is just a quick review of where we are. This is the second webinar in the series. And we have, this will be followed by a review session, just to orient you on where we are in the whole process. What we're going to talk about today is first do a little bit of context setting, and I'm going to share some notes and stats from Miller Center and kind of talk about sort of how we do some of the stuff and how we see it, but also understanding that our context of building a mentor network here in Silicon Valley is likely a lot different than your context of developing a mentor network. And then we're going to get into sort of the how to do mentor outreach and sourcing, and how to do mentor screening and selection. This slide should look familiar. This is what we worked on in the first webinar. Again, this is just sort of a reminder of the starting place before we're actually going out and searching for or reaching out to mentors and selecting them and screening them, is building sort of the profile of what the mentors you're looking for look like. And so one of the things is sort of defining what the mentor qualities are. And then this should also look familiar. This is the sort of a development of identifying the types of mentor roles that you have and what level of experience and education that each of those roles would need in order to be a qualified mentor. And again, I'm just touching on this because this is sort of the first step in the process before you begin the selection and recruiting. Okay, this is a new slide that Lynn, our director of the Mentor Network at Miller Center, presented recently to us as sort of a state of our mentor network. And I stole a couple of slides from her because I thought they were relevant for what we're doing here. And the main thing I wanted to point out here is when you look at, this slide is showing sort of the referral sources or the sources of applicants that are coming into our mentor network, and how many, what's the conversion rate of from those different sources. And what you can see here pretty clearly is the majority of mentors that we're recruiting at Miller Center come either are referred directly from Miller Center staff or are referred by other mentors. And our conversion rate on those is generally 100%. So you can see it's not only the basically the most prolific sources, but also the highest conversion rate. And then we recently started doing some website lead capture, and we also get a fair number of applicants coming through that. The conversion rate is still pretty high, 50% there. I suspect that some people, maybe after talking to somebody related to Miller Center, either staff or mentors, some of those are also coming through the lead site as well. This is another look at sort of how we built up our mentor network over time. And I think I shared a slide similar to this in the first webinar. The main point I'm trying to make in looking at the slide, what you're seeing is the number at the top is the total number of mentors in our network over per year. And there's two main things I wanted to mention here. One is, you see, we started running programs in 2004, and really the mentor network grew relatively slowly over the first, 6 or so years. So there was quite a long period where we had a fairly small and relatively stable group of mentors during that period. And it wasn't until more recently that we really started scaling up and growing our mentor network more broadly. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is you'll see that the purple line that drops below the grid line going across, it represents basically mentors who are retiring. So even if you are trying to maintain a stable number of mentors in your network, you always actually need to be recruiting, because there is a general, a natural lifetime of a mentor that a number will leave the network over time. And actually this next slide represents exactly that. So this is another shot of Miller Center and sort of how we've looked at what we've seen in our mentor network over the years. And in general, we're seeing that when we get a new mentor coming in, this MIT actually stands for mentor in training. So these are the new mentors coming in. Typically, essentially after the first year, we'll lose, over a third of them will drop out after that first year. So there's a pretty high attrition rate after the first year. And then what we see after that is the ones that make it through the first, 10 to 12 months will stay longer, and they have an average lifespan of about 2.8 years. So again, kind of the point here is, in order to maintain the number of mentors in the network, you need to be recruiting pretty consistently to just stay at the status quo. And if you want to grow, then you have to actually increase your recruitment efforts significantly. Okay, so here, basically, I wanted to have a conversation and just kind of open it up and have you guys share sort of what you do now to search out and find new mentors. Like, where do you go to find mentors? And I think this will be helpful. I just having a conversation so you can hear from each other what you're currently doing, and then also maybe we'll have some suggestions as well.
Julie?
Sorry.
Yeah, I can go unmuted.
Yeah.
So if you recognized from the last time that I mentioned about how our system worked, so we still go for the system that separate like mentor into two roles. But we have a new name for that. So at first we had coach and then mentor, and we found out that coach term really mislead even like for people who I talk to, maybe they interpret it as something else. So we use the term process mentors and expert mentors. So we have two mentors in our system. And for the process mentors are the one who gonna work like weekly with the team and like mentoring session weekly on a weekly basis with the team, and we'll be the one who know the whole journey of the team and challenge them with the questions and so on to keep the team going. And for the expert mentors will come in when they have specific need, for example branding, communication, and so on. So this is our current system now, and we're gonna try this for this time because our program gonna start soon. And for the process mentors, at first we thought that it gonna be just a RISE impact team that will be the process mentor, but we think like, but finally we found out that this is gonna be too much because we have to also manage the project and other elements in the program as well. So we finally asked our connections who used to work like as a coach or used to work with impact ventures before or social enterprises, or someone has been professor in social innovation department in a university. So so finally we have 5 process mentors including me because I cannot find another one. So gonna be 6 process mentors, and we recruit the ventures for this program. We finally come up with 6 impact ventures as well. So it's gonna be one-on-one for each like process mentor and team. And then on the same time, before the so from the first weekend, we're gonna do need assessment with the team, and then we will find out like what specific areas that they need and need to be filled for the team. And we along the process we're gonna talk to other experts that gonna recruit them or invite them to be the expert mentors. So this is how we work so far. So basically we only for the process mentors, only people that we already know and we trusted that they can do the work. And for the expert mentors, we are more like open for new people. I started talking to some, maybe using referrals from our network to approach them. Yeah.
Great. Great.
Julie, are you for the expert mentors, you're trying to understand what the organization, so it sounds like you've got 6 organizations now that you are working with, that was, so what expertise do they need, and then are you going out to find that specific expertise?
I think I will do that. So first, I mean we now evaluated from the screening process that they need something like, for example, marketing or people who have connection with the corporates, for example. And I think like at the same time we also like try to build a database of mentors So so during the process, if when process mentor and the team work together and then found out that maybe there's some specific need, I can help connect them to the mentor, to the expert.
Yeah, yeah.
Any thoughts?
So, and just so, and then the process mentors, it sounds like right now what you've done is you've kind of converted the people that you were working with as coaches to these process mentors. How are you thinking about growing that? I mean, in terms of when you need to start to identify more, where do you think a good pool of those kinds of mentors will be?
That's a good question. I think there might be, because now we try to reach out for like to those who we know, who already know, but then like, yeah, that's a good question. I think I will have to think more about that for, I mean, for the next program, maybe like the referral system again, to ask our network in the field, and then who might be interested and capable of doing this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I don't have I don't have a plan to recruit like how you mentioned, but I think it's gonna be cool that you can share, because it seems like you have an open application for mentors.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like you hit on sort of in the short run exactly what we've learned is really the best way to find them is through our close referral network of staff and partners and mentors, existing mentors that we have. We also actually, and Lynn can attest to this, our director of mentor networks, that often our staff does mentoring as well if we're short trying to find somebody. So we do that as well to draw people in. Yep. And
let me add one more thing.
yeah.
I think the other thing you can do to get new mentors is to make the experience for your existing ones positive enough that they're willing to bring in their friends and their colleagues, right? Because if the 5 that you have in addition to you, they might after the first year they might have someone that they could recommend to bring in, which is really kind of how it's just a nice organic growth for you. And it sounds like you're doing everything that we did in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah.
Tao put stuff in the chat box because she's not able to speak. So she says that her source of mentors is from recent mentors, and then mentees in previous mentoring program can become mentors in the next program. So basically, who's gone through will become mentors in the next one, and then from partners. And they recommend some potential mentors and or investors for potential investors to build relationships with them first, and then they'll invite them to be mentors. So there's that relationship piece of it, understanding, and we'll get to this later in the webinar, is being able to kind of vet, if you will, the potential mentors, making sure that they will be good. So.
Yeah, one other thing I thought I would mention, and Lynn had shared this in her State of the Mentor Network when we were talking about, we're also talking about how we expand and grow our network. And, one of the things that she had said is about the timing of reaching out to mentors and getting them engaged. And, it is a little bit of sort of just in time, because you can't really recruit very far in advance of actually needing them, because we find that a lot of the mentors, if they're interested, they're sort of ready to go right away. And if you don't engage them right away, then sometimes you lose them. So there is kind of a timing aspect to think about when you're doing this as well. That's right, Lynn. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did. I think it's easier to get someone to agree to sign up to be a mentor if you say, yeah, we've got this really great cohort. I've got somebody perfect in mind for you right now. It starts in 2 weeks. Can you say yes, right? Rather than saying, sign up, you know, we have a cohort starting, but I'm not sure if you're going to get, if we have someone for you yet. It's really hard. Yeah.
That's my experience very much. When I have a chance to conclude a conversation with a potential mentor and they seem excited about the program, they're ready to go. And so I'm not always familiar with the exact timing, so I give them a range. And when the range is kind of months down the road, I can sense some excitement slipping a little bit. When the possibility is a couple weeks away, the candidates are very, very excited.
Great. So this is a list of other possible sources of finding mentors. And again, I highlighted sort of referrals from existing mentors, and you could probably add to that referrals from staff, referrals from board members of your organization are all probably really good sources. But there are other places to think about if you need to or want to try to reach out beyond that. There's the, you know, obviously the local business community, professional organizations. There are civic organizations too, like Rotary Club and Kiwanis, and university and alumni associations are another potential source. And then there are some of these large corporate volunteer councils. This Global Corporate Volunteer Council is in many parts of the world. So that may be a place to look if you're really struggling to find other sources. But again, I think, you know, the strongest sources and probably the highest conversion rates are going to come through these referral networks of folks you know. Okay. So this is the next question, is how do you reach out to potential mentors? And this is more sort of if you've identified who you're going to talk to, how do you actually reach them? Do you email them? Do you make calls? Do you hold events to recruit them? What kinds of activities do you do to actually reach out to potential mentors?
Julie, do you want to?
Yeah. For now, I think I gonna, because I think mainly we will use the referral system.
Mm-hmm.
But for the specific expertise that I think it could be useful for the impact ventures in our program, I think I might have sent a random, not a random, but send an email, like introduction email to them. Not sure if the call works. Yeah, I actually don't know yet, like how to reach to the completely unknown mentors. Yeah, but for I think email might work, or ask the network to help connecting if they might know that person that I want to connect.
So, right. So it sounds like if you're largely going through your referral network, there's sort of maybe an email introduction that happens. Yeah. I mean, Lynn, do you want to talk a little bit about sort of what kind of outreach we do at Miller Center?
Yeah. So, you know, so we have, for the mentor network, we have quarterly mentor networking events, and we're evolving those into sort of just social events where mentors get together and talk to one another. but we also at those meetings will have folks attend who are not yet mentors but have heard about the program. And actually we have one coming up, and we've got new folks coming to the meeting because of our invitation being forwarded on to other people, not because we've invited them specifically. So but if we can, we get a big enough venue where we tag an invitation to other mentors to show up. So we'll get some mentors that way, but really I think most of ours are coming through referrals, and it's pretty much managed through, they'll sign on, they'll get information on the website, and then it's managed through email conversations initially to get them to the point where we're ready for an interview.
Yeah, and we are collecting some directly via our website and just an email capture form. I don't know how many of those are just coming in cold and how many of them have actually been sent there from somebody else, from referral. But,
yeah, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. We have, I mean, all of the folks that come in, even through referrals, we send through the website. But every time we have a referral that we're aware of, we will flag it. But there may be people that are coming onto the website because someone else told them to go look at it. Or, hey, I'm a mentor at Miller Center, you should go check that out. And I think that's probably what's happening, is that then they'll go on the website and they'll check it out. But in our interview process, we also try and identify how it is they heard about us. And so we do get a few that have done independent searches about, and a desire to be to do something different with their lives, or in their next career and their next life, they want to do something a little bit more meaningful, and that's how they end up finding us, through various search engines. So then that would be like the retiring crowd. So if there's a way that you can access in your area folks retirement, like maybe big companies that have access to people who are retiring, the human resources departments, you could certainly do outreach to that, and you might find folks that are leaving big companies, getting ready to retire, but not interested in hanging up their brain and all of the things they've learned, but maybe perhaps not working for the company anymore. So.
Another thing that we have a partner called Innovation Works that's based in Baltimore, and they just did a call for applications for an upcoming program, and they put that out into the media, into the press and things. And alongside that, they also said, if you're interested in becoming a mentor, and they've got information. So they sent them to the website and such. So, when you have some announcements that you're making around program starts or applications or, winners of competitions or whatever, that's another time that you've got a touch point with the public at large that you can make known that you're looking for mentors.
I just also wanted to share Tao's note from the chat. She's saying that they basically use email. If they're based in Hanoi, we email them and then invite them directly, meet them directly. And then they also use emails to reach out to mentors in other regions. And then they invite them to an orientation day for mentors, which they hold before each mentoring program starts.
Yeah, and just piggybacking on that with Innovation Works, the group that I was just talking about, they have some mentor orientation or mentor invitations to learn more about what mentoring could mean and such like that. So you have these being able to get people together and understand more about what it is and the commitments thereof and such. So.
Yeah, we're actually doing that. The program that I'm working on with the University of San Carlos in the Philippines, we're also doing some mentor recruitment activities there. And that's essentially, you know, kind of what Lynn was describing. It's part social event and part kind of introduction to the programs, the accelerator program, and what mentoring is about. And the idea is to kind of recruit prospective mentors to the event, but then also have mentors there who have already gone through the program and had a positive experience and can share that with the prospective mentors. Okay, so it seems like the number one outreach activity is ask for mentor referrals. And then, of course, there's other things you can do to maybe facilitate this mentor outreach, maybe create some templates or flyers or a presentation, potentially host an event reception for prospective mentors. And then, of course, the other thing is to set up, if you don't have this already, maybe set up an online form on your website where you can capture people who are potentially interested in mentoring and then follow up with them. That's my dog growling in the background. Sorry about that. All right. Okay. So this is the last question I'm going to propose that we can talk about is how do you go about screening and selecting mentors? So you reach out to your referrals and send them an email. How do you go about screening and deciding whether they should be a mentor or not? Julie, you want to start again?
Yeah, sure. Because
thank you.
Small group today. So for the process mentors, we reached out. It's more like invitation. We think that these people can do this work and they have the right attitude to be a mentor. And like for the process mentor, I think we invited. But for the expert mentors, then there will be some referrals from my friend or from our network, and they might connect us via email. And like for what I did so far is made appointment with them and then introduce them, like having a cup of coffee and then talk about it together. Maybe an hour would work to see how much they're interested, because mostly they are not yet familiar with the social enterprise field. Like for the expert mentor, actually most professionals in Thailand, they have limited knowledge about social enterprise when they first hear about it. But then after like having time and then talk and then introduce them about how this thing works, then they know more. And then because what I found is some of them don't know if they can be a mentor, but we think that they have a good like skills, good knowledge of their industry, but they think that I can I do this for the first time, something like that. So they are not so sure about, for example, if they're gonna sit with the social enterprises, what should they do? So these people, but I think I look for someone who are very open-minded and listen, and yeah, so mostly the willing to involve and the openness.
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious. I mean, it sounds like, you know, you have to do a fair amount of sort of describing what the program is about and a little bit about what being a mentor is about. Do you actually end up screening anybody out, or are you mostly just trying to convince them to participate as a mentor?
So so for now I talk to for the close network, I ask them if they are interested. For the people who are connected by my network, like a referral, I would I didn't screen anyone out yet, but because so far not I didn't find the person that has such close how to say close attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far I just collect them in the database.
Yeah, well, if you have a good referral sources, then they're probably sending you qualified people. And you saw that in the earlier slide I shared with you about the Miller Center is, we
Yeah.
have 100% conversion rate from people who are referred from staff and other mentors because they kind of know what to look for.
Mm, mm, mm. Do you screen anyone out?
I would encourage John to pipe up here because from my experience of interviewing, I think it's very similar. We have to the people that are very thoughtful and want to do the right thing are also concerned that perhaps they're not the right person for it. So it's a little sort of a catch-22. The people that you want are the ones that are a little bit afraid of not being good enough.
Mm.
Rather than the ones that are so arrogant that they think they know everything. But John has interviewed a lot of folks in the last 6 months for Miller Center, and he might be able to give you some insights about that. But
Truly, there are occasions where we screen them out. There are occasions, and there's probably occasions that folks are screened out before they come to me, somewhere along in the process before they get to me. But what I have found is very important in the process is that the mentors really understand what's required of them. And probably half are a little concerned that, hey, do I really have the skills to be helpful? That's probably half the time. And then the other half, folks have some confidence that they've been in business long enough that their experience would be useful, but they just want to make sure they understand the time commitment, for example. That's always one of the first questions that I get is, hey, how much time is this going to take?
Mm.
So I try to be very thorough in that regard.
Yeah. Can you explain the process, the entire process of screening and selecting again at your end?
So at the beginning piece, we require them to submit a resume or a LinkedIn profile. And then we review their LinkedIn profile and make sure that they have the level of expertise we're looking for, and perhaps a particular focus in an industry that we might need, and that they have come with a recommendation from someone affiliated with Miller Center. If all of those things align, then they get bumped into the interview process, and then we have either myself or John will interview them and then give them, just check to make sure that they understand the requirements, that they're confident that they can do it, and that in the interview they exhibit the characteristics we're looking for, as well as a commitment and interest and excitement to do the work. Mm-hmm. And John, you can add, please add.
No, you hit it perfectly.
So you interview everyone basically. Who?
Yeah, but I think, by the time they're interviewed, I think we're pretty good at picking out, with a recommendation in addition to the resume. I think we're pretty good at picking out the ones that are going to be make it, and they're going to be accepted. Because I don't know. We'll have some interviews where maybe we might have a little bit of reservation, but also it might just be that they're quiet. And then the other really important piece about the the selection process is that we give them a year, or we give them a chance to practice with another mentor on a team. And we can screen out from there the ones that just don't make it. Also, what happens though is that the ones that really didn't get interested or couldn't cover it and weren't fulfilled by the experience at all, they don't end up returning. So the selection process is, we've got them to a point where we're going to invest the time in giving them an assignment with another mentor and an entrepreneur, and we'll see how they go from there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Lynn. And I think even with all our experience in sort of recruiting and screening and selecting mentors, it's a bit of an imperfect process that, you still end up with folks who just, it turns out not to be a great fit. And so there's no magic form or sort of boxes to check to, find the perfect person to mentor. There are, obviously there are some things to look for, but, we don't always get it 100% right at the beginning. I just wanted to share, so Dow had shared a few things in the chat, and let's see, they meet with the mentors directly to see if they're interested in mentoring or not, and then ask them to fill out an application form, what their experience is and what they expect from the program. And they look for basically the values that they've described to help screen mentors. For example, one of their values is trusted supporter, and they can use that as a way to sort of screen whether the person is able or willing to really, or seems like a trusted supporter of startups or not. And let's see, they host mentor training 3 months after the training session. They do an assessment again to finalize the mentor list. So several steps in there. Dow, thank you for sharing that.
We also have Sakif from Toru joined us, but Sakif, you don't have a microphone, so we won't be able to hear you talking. So, and we'd love to, if you don't have a microphone, and if you can just use the chat window like Tao is, that would be great. Yeah, actually, and I was just thinking that the next thing we would be doing is in talking about, how you're doing the screening, and to understand whether or not they are going or have the potential to be that trusted supporter is an important aspect of the selection process, right? So.
So the next one we had planned is to do a role play exercise. And this is to give you sort of, so from an experienced mentor interviewer, John O'Keefe, what it's like and what kinds of questions he asks when he's interviewing a prospective mentor. And then, so we'll have him do that. Pamela will be our prospective mentor. And then we'll do a little bit of a debrief afterwards, just to sort of get inside of John's head to see why he was asking certain questions and what he gathered from that interview. Yeah?
Okay. Pamela,
All right.
it's so nice to finally meet you. How are you today?
I'm great, John.
Hey, good. Thank you for your interest in the Miller Center. Hey, today we're going to take, I guess, something around 30 minutes to really talk about the Miller Center, what we're doing, how we do it, and your interest and your experiences and how that might fit. Does that sound okay?
Perfect. Yeah, thanks.
Great. Let me start, if that's okay, with a couple of questions. First, tell me a little bit about your background and how you became interested in the Miller Center.
Well, I've run several companies. I've started several companies. You probably know about them here in the Bay Area. I've been the chief marketing officer at one, chief operating officer another, and CEO of another, and heard about this and thought, let me just kind of see what's going on. And I feel like I couldn't offer a lot, and I've had some successes. Actually, I've had quite a few successes in my career. 2 startups ago, actually, we're all venture backed, and we went public, and then started another one because I didn't want to be a CEO of a public company. So anyway, so just kind of thought I'd want to know more about what's going on. My friend Lynn told me about this, so just checking it out.
Oh, excellent. Great. And what did you take away from your conversation with Lynn that seemed to get you excited?
Well, I certainly I have a lot of experience, and so I thought that being able to share some of my experience could be especially with organizations in the emerging markets could be really interesting. I mean, I've been doing this for a pretty long time now, so just thinking, and I've mentored a lot of people, so thought that this could be an interesting.
Excellent. What organizations have you had a chance to mentor with, or is this just something you do on your own?
Yeah, it's on my own. I mean, I'm pretty busy, so just every once in a while I kind of dip in and mentor some folks.
Oh, good. Excellent. So one of the things we want to accomplish is to answer any questions about what we do at the center, how we do it. Anything pop up in your head that I can answer right off early in the conversation?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I mean, so I think Lynn told me that there's an expectation of a call a week. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely there is. Let me talk about that a little bit. So as Lynn has shared with you, and I'm sure you've seen from our website, we work with social entrepreneurs all over the world. And we have a heavy interest in Eastern Africa and in India. And we really get a chance to work with some really incredible women and men. And the way the program works, I'm going to get into a little detail here, but I think it might be helpful to you, is that really key is that if you come in the program, you will be partnered with an experienced mentor that's been through the process probably a couple of times. And at the heart of that program, which lasts for about 6 months for each cohort, is a weekly phone call. And it's there that you, the entrepreneur, and your co-mentor really start to build a relationship. And at the heart of your discussions is going to be some curriculum that has been developed by the Miller Center staff. And it's going to take you from the easy parts of thinking about your business to your mission, your problem solution statements, all the way through thinking about how you're going to grow your business, and most importantly, how you're going to fund the business. And if you can raise some money, how much do you need and how would you use that money? That weekly phone call is really, really important. Calls generally last about an hour. Additional time that you'll be required is to be prepared for each call. As I said, the Miller Center has some curriculum that they've developed, so you're going to want to review that material. And each module that we have requires some work to be done by the entrepreneur. And you're, as a new mentor, probably going to want to do those assignments ahead of time, just so you're comfortable with the material. And then you talk about it. And over the course of the 6 months, what frequently happens is you get a chance to become a trusted advisor to your entrepreneur. And you may get on topics with some regularity that have really little to do with the curriculum in front of your entrepreneur, but are really important to the business they're trying to grow and manage. Does that sound like something that would fit your time availability?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds,
Hour call, some preparation,
you
2 or 3 hours a week is probably what would be required of your time.
I mean, yeah, it could be a bit challenging. You know, I mean, some weeks will be fine. Other weeks, you know, not so much. I travel a lot, and so
Yeah, and I can tell you that our entrepreneurs can sometimes be tough to get a hold of. They frequently work in areas where internet and cell service is spotty at best. So there are times when calls get postponed by the entrepreneur, but it's really important that the mentors are available on a really regular basis. And many of our mentors do travel with frequently, but there needs to be a way that you can be available for most of the calls that would occur during that 6-month period of time. What do you think?
yeah, yeah. Let me think about that. Let me
Okay,
think about that.
good. Well, excellent. Hey, just to give you some other additional information, I mentioned what incredible entrepreneurs we have. We also have a cadre of mentors that are extremely unique and fascinating individuals. And the center runs some programs on occasion where we get to meet on a social basis, interact, and just get a chance to establish some new relationships. So that's something that you can look forward to. So any additional questions you might have for me?
No, I think, yeah, let me think a bit more about this, John. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for
Well,
spending.
great. Well, Pamela, let me tell you the next step is I will send a note to Lynn that we had this conversation, and I'll kind of let her know where we left it off, that you want to give it a chance to have some additional thought about the program, and she will follow up with you with where to take it from there. Really enjoyed meeting you today.
Thanks, John. Bye.
Great. Thank you, John, and thank you, Pamela. That was great. I can tell you, you know, what I heard in there is actually what we were talking about before is actually there's a fair amount of sort of selling, is really talking up the program and talking up the role of a mentor and the types of organizations that the mentor would be working with. I also heard really some questions around trying to understand the motivation of the prospective mentor, like why are they interested and what's really driving them, and also some about their basic availability. But John, share with us what you feel like you learned from that interview.
Yeah, well, first off, I'll have looked at Pamela's LinkedIn file, so I'm going to have a fairly good idea that she really is someone who's had a very successful career, and it's been with a number of organizations. So I really don't need to dwell too terribly much on her business background. I can leave that to the side. Somebody that didn't have quite the resume, I might spend a little bit more time understanding their level of expertise, maybe a little bit about organizations and groups that they've managed, because that's a real important a skill that I think a mentor can bring to the Miller Center. And then I really wanted to know, does she have the time? Does this really fit in with her busy schedule? And that's where Pamela did a nice job of giving me some good resistance. I appreciate that, Pamela. And and then sometimes you get to that point. The individual's just not sure. And so I feel like I've given them a decent background. And as I said, most of our conversations go about 30 minutes. So we get into a number of other things. But I got a good sense from Pamela that she's highly qualified, would be a great addition to the team. And just a question of, does it fit her schedule? And that's really up to her.
Great. So I had one question for you, and this is not something that came out specifically in this interview, but something Julie had raised. Sometimes when she's talking to prospective mentors, they're reluctant mentors. They're not sure if they're, they have the right skills, or what a mentor is really about, or that they can be an effective mentor. So how would you respond to someone who says, wow, I'm not really sure if I can do this? Like, what do I really have to do? And
when I hear that, if I haven't had something in the conversation that triggers a response, I'll be familiar, or I'll have their LinkedIn profile up in front of the screen while I'm speaking with them, and I'll ask a question about some experience they've had, and then probe a little bit to understand it better, and then tie that directly to what a mentor does and how they do it, and that really applies very, very well to what we do. One of the things that I come across occasionally is that I'll be speaking with somebody and they're just really, 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 really qualified, but they're really unsure. And so it takes a little bit of making them feel really valued, and that the folks we deal with infrequently are really fairly young folks, late 20s, mid 30s, and that the experience that folks have been around for a couple of years might have, there are things we've forgotten that come up, and and a good mentor will be able to respond and help their entrepreneur really easily without even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that in an arrogant way at all.
Right.
It's just the fact of, you get experience, and sometimes you run into a situation where somebody's an entrepreneur's pointing out a problem, and in your head you say, oh boy, I experienced that, and boom, 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 and you get the right moment and say, oh, okay, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And all of a sudden, entrepreneur says, no, I didn't. Wow, that's really amazing. And boy, it took you 2 seconds to think about it.
Yeah, and I can share just a bit of my experience in working with the new mentors and building the mentor network in the Philippines. So the group, we ended up recruiting about over 20 new mentors, and some of them were, most of them were from the faculty of the university. Some of them had a lot of business experience, but many of them were not confident about mentoring, I would say. And so, one of the things we did is kind of sit down with them and talk a little bit about what a mentor really is. Because I think their fear was around, oh, a mentor is supposed to be an expert in everything, and I'm supposed to have the answer. Yeah. And they were like, I don't think I'll have all the answers. And so part of our training and onboarding them was really talking a lot about how the mentor doesn't have to have all the answers. They're not going to be an expert in every part of the business that their mentee is in. So the role of the mentor is, sure, they can draw on their experience, draw on their expertise, but it's a lot about helping the entrepreneurs think through their challenges and think through their decisions. And so really good mentors, just ask really good questions, I think, is one of the things that they do. And so they don't have to be an expert in everything. If they bring expertise in certain areas, great. But you can be a really good mentor without having a broad or deep expertise across a lot of areas.
Right.
And I would add to that, Jeff, that as a mentor goes through the program, the curriculum sets all sorts of responses from the entrepreneurs that allow for conversation to occur, and you get a chance to ask questions about their responses in areas that you don't have a significant amount of experience, but the curriculum allows for those issues to come out. and makes for the discussion. And the interplay between co-mentors and entrepreneurs is really, really positive.
Yeah, I might add that if there's a way you can build in an opportunity for the mentors to talk to one another about, yeah, you know, my guy's asking me this, and I really just didn't know anything, or it's confidence building in your mentors to know that you don't have to be perfect, and that the other folks are facing similar questions in there, so you can see how other people do it. So if you can build in some sort of a mentor sharing experience, which is how we've done it, by making sure there's an experienced mentor on the team with the co-mentor. That's the way we've done it, but you could do it other ways as well, like maybe having quarterly board meeting calls or something. Then I think that would also help.
Yeah, and we're sort of jumping ahead into the future webinars talking about onboarding and engagement, but you know, that is something that we've done, and Miller Center, I think, has done in a variety of programs, is we'll hold, while the program is running, we'll hold essentially, you know, office hours for mentors, and bring people together so they can talk about any specific challenges they're having, or share stories of what's working or what's not working. But we'll go deeper on that in the upcoming webinars.
And Jeff, it feels like you are starting to do forward movement. And I just wanted to, earlier today, John, you were talking to Jeff and Lynn and myself about how the way that you interview is different between someone who has come in through a referral versus from that web lead that we don't know anything about.
Yes, thank you. So if the prospective mentor has just come in straight through the web, no referral, I'll spend a little more time, and I'll certainly go more in depth to understand what it is they think they can contribute to an entrepreneur, what it is they expect to get out of the experience, and I might even spend a little bit more time on their business background. Even if they've got a solid LinkedIn profile, I'll spend a little bit more time, because I know when they've got a referral, there's a lot of things I can skip because that referral is so important. And you saw the 100% success rate. So I take a little bit more time. I ask some more questions about motivation and any experiences they've had mentoring in the past, what they found was most valuable, those sorts of probing questions. I want to know a little bit more about that, but I still will spend as much time, no matter who I'm interviewing, making sure they understand the nuts and bolts and the amount of time that they're going to be required to spend during the cohort.
Right. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so what I'd like to do is assign you some homework, some things to work on. And the first thing is, and the assumption I'm making is that you're here because you need to recruit mentors into your network. So I'll ask you to start by creating a list of people to contact to get mentor referrals. And so this is your warm list. This is your staff, your existing mentors, your board members, your partners. But set up a list of people you think would be good sources of mentor referrals. The second thing is draft a list of questions that you would use for mentor interviews. And then the third thing is to create a really simple kind of mentor outreach plan, which is, and I'll share a version of each of these things, but basically sort of activities you have planned over the next 12 months that line up to your mentor needs. So here's a few questions to get you started. thinking about what to ask during a mentor interview. I'm sure you probably can refine and improve on this. But these were things that I came up with, and got feedback from Lynn as well. Some really basic questions just about their experience, their mentoring experience, and their interest in mentoring. So you can start with that, but certainly go a little deeper on questions that you want to get at to match with the types of mentors you're looking for. And then here's an example of sort of what I'm talking about with a mentor outreach plan. And this is really, this is a simple template quarterly plan that just identifies how many mentors you need to recruit, what types of recruitment activities you have planned for each quarter, and then what resources you need to get set up in order to do that recruitment. So for example, if you want to start capturing leads on your website, you need to create a web form to do that. If you want to do an email outreach, we develop an email template to do outreach that way. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today's webinar. So basically, again, your homework is to create a list of people to contact for mentor referrals, draft a list of interview questions, and then develop your mentor outreach plan for the next 12 months. I'm hoping that folks will share what they've done up on Slack, and that way we can kind of see how each other is approaching this. And again, I always think there's a lot to learn from each other in this. So please, as soon as you have a draft that you're comfortable with, post it up on Slack. And then the next session that we have will be a seminar, and this is more in kind of a question and answer format. So we can talk a little bit about the homework assignment. We can talk more about specific questions that you have around selecting and screening and interviewing mentors. And that will be more of just an open discussion. And that will be on Thursday, May 2nd for all of you. So any other final thoughts, Pamela, Lynn, Julie?
Can I ask, actually it's about onboarding process.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's just happened now at my end. So I just curious, how do you match? Do you have any set of questions to help matching mentors and the mentees? And also you have the existing mentors and the new mentors matching as well. So how do you manage those relationship and match them together?
Yeah, I don't know, Lynn, if you can give a really short answer to that. You could touch on it, but we
$64
will.
million question.
Yeah.
If we could get a match algorithm that could do it for us, and so that we could have a computer do it, it would be great. But it's an awful lot of art and a bit of luck, and also faith in the fact that that our mentors are the ones who are responsible for being adults and making the relationship work, and that when they get into a team, they figure out they're senior, they know how to work on a team, they work out the hierarchy and the relationship, and for the most part it's pretty successful. But I wish I could be more precise for you, but I think maybe for your practical purposes, you have 6 mentors and 6 social entrepreneurs. You're just going to have to guess on personality types, who's going to fit well with others, and then also experience. Maybe there's certain things that one organization is looking for. They need someone strong in marketing, and then it becomes obvious if you have someone who's strong in marketing, you pair that person. So maybe you have less leeway to be able to figure out pair and follow your gut.
So do you match them, like Miller Center match the mentors for the teams, or you let them select who they want to match?
Well, so that's a really good question. So we offer the mentors an opportunity to pick their top 3 choices, but we also tell them that we may, we will do our best to get their top one of their choices, but we can't promise it. But then we also only about half of the mentors in any one cohort will actually specify, and the others just say, just put me where you think I should be. And both work, right? So when we have to pair at any one time 40 mentors with 20 social entrepreneurs, and so it gets a little harder to decide who's going to go where, right? So if we have 6 or 8 of them that have professed a first and second choice, we try and honor those first and second choices as best we can. And then we fill in the blanks with the people who are willing to be put wherever we think they're going to be most helpful. And then we look at their LinkedIn experience, and we look at the requested experience and that the social entrepreneur has professed for what they want in a mentor, and we try and do the best we can to make that fit. Nothing is perfect. It's never, I don't think we ever get it completely right. But I think we get it, and then we follow up, make sure people are happy in the relationships.
So that's just a preview of the webinar number 3, where we'll talk about onboarding, and we'll get into the mentor matching as well. And we'll go a little deeper on sort of what the process looks like. But thank you, Lynn, for sharing that.
Yeah.
So be sure to come back for our webinar number 3 to get more on that. All right, everybody.
So there's
There's a question in the chat room.
Yeah.
Just wonder how do you organize a mentor sharing session or any activities to strengthen relationships among mentors? I think it will keep for your onboarding session. Yeah. So maybe Lynn, you can share about how we kind of do the mentor sharing and kind of strengthening the relationships between the mentors. You've been doing a lot. You've been focusing a lot of your attention on that these days.
Yeah. So we have surveyed our mentor network to find out what they want, and we have regular networking events so mentors can get together with one another. They were more formal in the past, where we would offer, they were offered at the beginning of cohorts, and they were formally discussing the cohort and how to become a mentor. And there was PowerPoint slides, and we got enough feedback from our mentor network to say we don't want PowerPoint slides anymore. We just want to get together and talk to one another. So we try and do that. But we also have office hours, and we've also started generating some new mentor orientation. So maybe once a quarter, if we get a new batch of mentors coming in, we'll have an orientation. Those webinars are recorded, and we make them available when they are onboarded. We provide them an official copy of the mentor handbook, and we're working on other formal ways of having a kickoff, so that they formally, so that there's a very clear handshake, a welcome aboard, and this is, you are now part of our network. So those are the things we're working on, and we do that through in-person and through webinars and telephone calls.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you during webinar number 3. So I'm seeing one other.
Can I ask a very quick, just curious?
Yes.
Because I saw your statistic, and you have about over 100 mentors at the moment. And how many mentees do you have? And that comes from only Miller Center's program, or also others program?
Jeff,
Yeah,
do you want to take that?
well, I think we actually have over 200
Yeah.
mentors total. And I don't recall off the top of my head how many of them are actively engaged right now. Is that the 100, Lynn?
Yeah, 125 are actively engaged right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And so those are mainly through Miller Center's programs that we run directly, and then a few through some programs that we run with partners. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
And remember, Julie, that for most, if not all of the entrepreneurs, we've got 2 mentors supporting each entrepreneur or each enterprise that's going through. So,
Right.
yeah.
They keep us mentors hopping, Julie.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you at the next seminar number 2, and the next webinar as well. Everybody have have a good evening or have a good day.
Yeah, very good. Bye-bye.
All
Bye.
right.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.